Today's guest is Dr. Annie Savage, who is a naturopathic doctor with a focus on women's health. She helps women struggling with weight, acne, and the hormonal symptoms by treating the root cause of their conditions. So, Annie, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, and yeah, I'm excited to dive into this with you. I mean, we've had a few naturopathic like guests on the show, but they don't come up very often. So you're in good company. So I'd love for you to just
Good.
dive into and let us know, how did you get to doing what you're doing?
Okay. My naturopathic path was that I grew up very, very interested in science and anatomy, sports medicine, nutrition. I don't know, I loved all that stuff. I played sports, I watched sports. So those are my interests. And then in my teen years, I developed hormonal migraines where I would be essentially not functional. I would lay in a dark room, like in a ball, in pain. I would mix Tylenol, Advil, Midol, like all the things to make it functional. Um, I always wanted to be a doctor, but by the time I finished my undergrad, I was doing sciences. I felt that it didn't resonate because my experience with medical doctors was here, take this pill, you won't get a headache anymore. And my question was always, but why are they there in the first place? Shouldn't we investigate the reason? But that wasn't how our conventional system worked in my experience. So then I was like, well, I shouldn't be that type of doctor if I don't really agree with it. So I finished my undergrad and really didn't know what to do. So I just started researching how to fix my own migraines, and I discovered naturopathic medicine. So it's a very beautiful blend of Eastern and Western medicine, the art and science coming together. And for me, I was like, oh my God, that's the thing. That's me. So at the time, I was living in Calgary in Alberta, and I started reaching out to NDs in the area. Just I wanted to work in their office, be close to it, see if I'd actually like it. And that is where I discovered, or the ND that I was working for was like, oh, you have migraines? Do you take birth control? And at the time I did. She said, oh, it's your B vitamins. Just take B vitamins and that'll balance it out because birth control uses up your B vitamins. And I was like, okay. So I did that and I just haven't really had a migraine since. So it was very, very simple fix for me at that time, but it taught me a lot, and working with her taught me a lot. So I applied to school. I went down to Arizona at SCNM, which is now called Sonoran Ranch, I think, school. They recently changed their name. But I was down there, and then that's where I met my business partner, Megan, at our first day of school, actually. And she's actually in Arizona right now on a little vacation. And then so we came up to Vancouver together and started our practice. The way or the reason that we got into women's health so deeply, I think, is because we're both women. That would make a lot of sense. And then pre-pandemic, we used to put on these girls' nights. So we'd do it in a restaurant in a private room. We'd get appetizers and we do kind of like a lecture for women. Specifically we were helping mostly at the time women in their perimenopause and menopause years. So our practice just grew around that. And we've always been doing hormonal stuff for women ever since. We don't do the girls' night talks anymore post pandemic. The environment's been a little different. Um, but that's the main start of how we got fully into it through both Megan's own health struggle, my own health struggle, and then helping our moms actually through that perimenopause, menopause kind of time of life, I guess. And then seeing all those women. And now our niche has really become women's health and women's hormones and helping everybody that way. So,
That's
yeah.
amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful story of like your mess becomes your message, right? Like I don't know if you ever heard like that phrase, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like this path to solve my own problems, which when you know where to look, it ended up being a very simple fix for you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then that follows so many other instances with the people around you and just what you see as the pattern is like then oh my god, like other people need to know about this, so that becomes the instigator for it. I think it's a common story, I think, with a lot of people that I
Mm-hmm.
work with and that come on the show as well. um Yeah, and I think it's very synonymous with just like this is what I'm passionate about because I see how simple or how effective the true fix can be. Right. So I love that story. And yeah, I'm a big supporter of naturopathic medicine as well. So yeah, then let's just like dive right into it. Like, what are the top problems that you are facing right now?
For us, uh, so top problems would be like our growth, our trajectory, in how quickly we're growing, and then our visibility is a huge sort of, I guess it's a barrier. Um, in so we have a lot of barriers going against us. We're in Canada, we're in BC. We have the most rights as naturopathic physicians in Canada, meaning we can do the most. We can prescribe medication, we can do injections, we can do all these things. But we are also the most heavily watched. We have the most rules. We're not allowed to market or advertise in a traditional sense. So there feels like a lot of barriers in getting our message out, getting seen, and getting in front of the right people. Um, so I think you asked for top three. Those were two. Visibility and our growth feels slow and a little bit stagnant. We also have the barrier of COVID and inflation that just in the last half of last year and up in this year has really affected our costs. So we are having to change some of our prices, and that adds a whole layer to it because we are outside the regular medical system in Canada. So it's getting our patients, our customers to see the value in themselves to invest in that and move forward with it. Is that a good answer?
No, no, it's a great answer. And
Okay.
so, and just for your reference, like I'm actually in Toronto, so like I
Okay.
understand
You get the
the
Canada part.
Canadian aspect of this story. Um, so okay, then what I guess would rephrase the question as is, while these are extremely legitimate and they're definite concerns that you're gonna have to overcome strategically, right? Fundamentally, they're also very circumstantial, right? Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
control regulation. What you do control is how you show up. So
Mm-hmm.
if you had to flip that question around and focus on the part that you do directly control, which is yourself, what are the top problems you're facing right now? And you could even interpret that as like, let's just say the leadership or the inner limits that are in your way right now.
Um, I still want to go with the visibility aspect,
Mhm.
which I can't get deeper to the root of the problem because in my opinion I'm very visible. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Like I do all the face to camera visibility type of things in every way that I know can, but it still feels like it's not gaining traction. It still feels like there's something missing, something needs to be tweaked. Um, that maybe my ability to bring my authentic self in short snippets or like in front of the camera could be part of that. Um, and you mentioned leadership as maybe presenting and directing in a more, I guess, even more a masculine way, in a more like directive point A to point B, you need this way. Maybe it's my communication style.
Got it. So when you look at these two, right? So there's the authentic self, and I don't know how authentic I'm actually showing up. So it's like I don't have an issue being visible, or at least going through the motions to be visible. But what is presented is less real than I know I'm capable of. So would that be accurate before I go on?
I think so. I noticed the longer I speak, so if I do like a live for like an hour, it comes out. But when I do short snippet videos and it's educational, it's probably coming from a more teacher educational perspective than enter like grabbing you, like that you really would resonate with me. And sometimes I think it's just because they're so short, because when I do a whole bunch of recorded videos, when I'm at home recording, say for like an hour, and I get all these videos, by the end, I'm getting more cheeky. I'm getting more myself, but I have this fear that my cheeky sarcasm will be taken the wrong way because that's my humor. It's pretty dry, sarcastic. Um, and then I have had for sure negative comments on videos and things like that that I'm unsure if I should address, if I should leave. Like I don't want to argue with someone on the internet. That's silly. But then it brings me to like, do I just leave that there? Do I engage at all? Um, I don't know.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So with regards to the cheeky sarcasm, have you ever gotten negative comments on that specifically?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't think so.
So what did you get negative comments on?
The information, like what I say to women can be triggering because often it will be the directly opposite thing or something that's been told to them by a different medical professional. For example, when women are dealing with very severe pain with their period, severe PMS, like we're talking disrupting your life, taking time off work, drugging yourself, that kind of thing. And I pop in and I'm like, that's not normal. That's not okay. And then you'll get the comment of, well, tell that to my doctor. Well, they did this and they said it's fine. I have had show me scientific proof of that, which I mean, there isn't. They can't ethically study women in that way. So it's in some cases, like I said, it's just very triggering. And I understand that coming from the person who's in that type of pain, in that health status, and someone saying, oh, that's not normal, you can get help, them saying, I've done all that, I've asked, and there is no help. So you're bugging me for saying that. Versus a different person in that exact same situation, their response might be like, oh, thank God you can help me. But you always have kind of the both extremes.
Got it. So as far as like if we revert it back to how like the parts that you can control, which is yourself, the biggest fear that came up when we initially started going down this road was like, okay, well, my cheeky sarcasm will be taken the wrong way. That's going to rub people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Simultaneously, that's never actually gotten any negative comments. So that there's no actual real evidence of that. And then it is actually the safe spot for you, which is educating and teaching, that got the most backlash.
Mm-hmm.
So when that's reflected back to you, what lands for you?
I mean, everything you just said is correct. Like, I agree with it.
Okay, perfect. And does anything come out for you as far as like a connection between those or no?
Connection between the two. No, but I'm hoping you'll tell me.
Okay. So what from the outside looking in,
Mhm.
right? The authentic part that you fear the most, you've actually had no like reality didn't tell you that was actually dangerous. So you're actually
Mhm.
prejudging before anybody,
Right,
right? Like you're
myself.
self
Okay.
filtering there. Okay.
Yeah,
So right off the bat, that's a limiting belief as far as how you have to show up, right?
true. Yes, and I could further down that limiting belief pathway. I feel confused also in how to present myself as that sort of authority figure, doctor figure, but I'm on like TikTok, or you know what I mean? I'm on this very public platform, and what's appropriate versus what's not. Because to me, it appears that people, like, of course, they like the educational information, they like that, but they also want to know you. And so I don't know how to do that, how to be me professionally and still hold that kind of authoritative space. Does that
Right.
make sense?
It does.
Okay.
What you're really asking for is like, how do I find my voice online?
I guess so.
Well, okay, does that, like, to me, that's what it sounds like. But if it doesn't resonate with you, then it's irrelevant, right? So if it does resonate, then we can go down that road.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think that's accurate. I don't know what my professional persona should appear as with some of the personal aspects thrown in there.
Right. So there's going to be the tactical solution to this, right? Like how you're going to structure your content and, what percentage of it is going to be this, what's educational, where do you slip in your offers? Like the strategic aspects have their own solution. It seems to me like you've actually done a lot of work here, and like you can maybe tell your numbers or whatever the case might be. Those are all secondary to the foundation of what do I actually consciously or subconsciously feel safe to show up as. So right now, the least safe option is actually you. So what's landing there?
I don't understand. The least safe option is me, you mean in my authenticity?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that like that lands because I have I would say I have this kind of fear of being seen or saying the wrong thing, which I told my sister I was doing a podcast interview and I was like, I get so nervous before I go on these. And she was like, well, why? I said, I don't know. I'm afraid I'll say something dumb or wrong or stupid. And she was like, yeah, but like, have you ever? And I was like, well, no. What if I do? Um,
Right. So even if
so
we just
I,
follow that thread, right?
yeah,
I can't say, or I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. I'm afraid to say the dumb thing. So you default to saying the technically correct thing, which you can technically verify across the board. Like you're
yeah,
not going to go up and say things that you can't verify in a study, you can't verify in a textbook, you can't verify in your clinic, right? So by definition, it's safe because it's never wrong. It has proof. Somebody might dispute that, but they're not actually disputing you. They're disputing the fact. And then it's like, okay, I see red, you see blue. And you can, like, that part of you can live with that distinction.
hmm,
But if they say, why are you making jokes? You're supposed to be a medical professional, like unfollow. Now that's about you. So does that land?
yeah,
Okay. And what comes up internally when I reflect that back?
bye. I mean, if you don't like me, then you're not for me and we shouldn't work together, and that's okay. So I don't know where the fear comes from because I don't feel like sad or bad. I really like what I do and I really like the people that I work with. So whether it's online or in person, it that person who wants to work with me is going to be for me, that alignment between us. Where like a different example, if we reached out and had this conversation, I was like, no, none of that aligns. I don't want to do your podcast. Um, so it doesn't like upset me. It's okay if you don't like me. Please unfollow me. Please leave my email list.
Right. So intellectually, you understand that completely and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But given your actions, there's something
Um,
deeper at play because your actions are opposite of that.
totally.
Right. So if you look at the actions are all in line and in tune with this limiting belief of essentially, if I'm myself, I might show up and be wrong. I will be dumb. It's not safe to show up as the
Hmm.
real me. And your actions perfectly reflect that limiting belief.
Yeah.
But when you have the response of other people, because intellectually you shifted that part of your mindset, you can deal with it and move on.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I go on, what's landing for you there?
Um, all of that is. And like I think everything you're saying is correct. I resonate with it all. It's still it's that kind of authenticity and fear of being seen, I think.
Got it.
I do
So
your job. label
Yeah,
it
I
for
I
you.
agree. So then if you take that piece, okay,
Mhm.
so it's the authenticity and the fear of being seen. So it's your challenge here is really the pre getting online, pre creation of content. Meaning, once I put something out and I get the response, I'm not necessarily fearful of rejection, which is maybe the common way that visibility fears tend to manifest. For you, it's yeah, I can handle that. But the real scary part is like even stepping up to the plate as me. I can step up as the polished version of me that knows the right technical answer. It's how do I authentically show up even like before pressing record.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can even see that when I procrastinate having to do the videos. Once I start and I'm doing them, it's like I can bang out a whole bunch. I can do it for, however long I give myself, I can fill that and create a whole bunch of stuff. But I'll go through these periods of, I guess, lag or where I just like cannot, can't bring myself to do it. And I'm never sure why because I'm not a procrastinator type of person. Like I just do what I have to do. Um, so it's definitely something I notice that I'm avoiding.
Right. So if to your subconscious it didn't feel safe to show up as authentically you, do you think it's natural to have that same part of you encourage you to procrastinate whenever you come to activities that could potentially get you to show up as authentically you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's obvious. It's the classic procrastinator, like, oh, well, I better clean first, and then I better wash my hair, and then I better, like the list of things that really don't matter that you do.
Correct.
And I definitely do all of that.
Yeah. So to put it a different way, do you think you have a productivity issue or do you have a limiting belief issue?
Oh, definitely limiting beliefs. I'm real productive.
Perfect. Yeah. And that's, I'm glad that that's landing because, like, I don't see anybody getting to your position without ever being like lazy or not productive. You know what I mean? So I get it. Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's one area, right? So you got this visibility bit. So now if you extrapolate that further, what problems is this actually causing in your business?
It's causing the lack of growth that I want. And it's causing me not to align with the people who probably would be perfect customers, perfect patients, perfect people to work with because I'm not there in front of them, maybe, or, I'm only partially there in front of them and they can't tell. Um, so I think it's just blocking me and every goal that I want to achieve.
That's pretty big, right?
That's
So
awful.
yeah. Um, and just to reflect that back, it's not only stalling the growth, like I'm not getting more people that I could help, but even the people that I do get, because I don't show up as me, I actually end up helping more wrong people than I would like.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true. In my in-person practice, I really resonate work and align with like those people pretty well. In our online space, I think that is it's more not completely aligned type of people are coming in.
Right, because all people can see online is what you present. And if you
Right.
continue to present inauthentically, you're going to get people that match that inauthenticity.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting the perfect people that you are being
For
a light to.
yeah.
Okay. So in that instance, right? Because you started this whole conversation off like really speaking about the circumstantial and strategic challenges of this. Do you think optimizing for those is really going to help you eliminate the root issue?
No, because I've been doing that straight for like 3 years nonstop and it has not budged the needle.
Right. So the irony here, and this is true for all of us, right? Like the same thing that your clients go through, which is they spent years of time, money, and energy solving for the wrong problem, never diagnosing the root, and they're always on this hamster wheel of kind of doing the same thing. It's happening for you just in a different area.
Yep.
Okay. So what's coming up for you then when I share that?
Um, I mean, that is exactly how it feels. What's coming up, like, as you're saying it is, well, damn. It really just feels like something I sort of half knew but couldn't articulate properly. Um, and even if I do fully know it, as in that sort of fear being seen, I still don't know how to fix it because my fixing is like do more, be in front of the camera more, do more content. But I'm just burning myself out by doing more and trying to be there more and in front of people who clearly don't resonate, you know, they're not buying, they don't care. Um,
Right.
so
So
yeah.
basically, it's again, if you bring that back to, and actually, I'll have you do this. Like, if you bring that back to the analogy of your own clients, what is it that you're doing repeatedly?
If I use them as my analogy, I'm doing what they're doing, as in sort of seeking a solution, but in the incorrect way, not actually getting underneath of it to heal the root problem.
Yeah.
Maybe the difference between me and my patients, though, is that they don't know their root problem because, you know, they don't know like their hormones and the science and anatomy and all that, which is obviously okay because we're not taught that. I feel like I do know my root problem as we're discussing it. I'm getting to know it more, but I still don't really understand the solution to it.
Right. So what I would just add the nuance to that is you understand the root problem, but you don't know how to solve the root problem. Like you have very good awareness. Like I'm aware that there's limiting beliefs here, and I see that they're around visibility. But because I don't know how to solve it, the only thing I default to is burning myself out and trying to do the symptom harder,
Everything.
better, faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I grew up with that, you got to work hard, you got to work hard. So my default is work hard, be more productive. My
Right.
other kind of shadow problem is that when I'm resting, I'm like, am I being lazy? Am I being horrible? Should I do something? So I, yeah, everything you're saying is resonating very well.
Perfect. So now you've uncovered another layer of really your limiting beliefs around hardship.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to solve things is to work harder. If things are easy, then there's something wrong. I'm not doing enough, right? Then it's the judgment of too little. It can't be this easy. I have to make it hard, right? So
Yeah.
what lands for you there?
Again, all of that, I wouldn't say anything has come easily because I've always just worked really hard. So I haven't even given my life the opportunity for ease and opportunity to just like drop in. I don't think.
Absolutely. So now, if you look at how you've been trying to solve this problem, right? So I'm focusing on the strategy and the symptoms of it. It can't be easy to figure this out. So I have to just do more and work harder. In turn, I end up burning out. Well, clearly, I'm not doing the thing enough and well. Oh, that's why I'm procrastinating. So now more guilt loops there all the time, reinforcing and proving that things have to be hard if they're worthwhile.
Yeah, that's a good explanation.
Yeah. So do you see now how like you have basically layers of these limiting beliefs that not only does the solution have to be difficult, like I can't even fathom that I can just eliminate this, doesn't have to be part of my life, but the
Mm-hmm.
solution to that has to be hard. And if I keep myself focused on just doing more, I never actually give myself the space to consider, hey, um, maybe there's a better way to eliminate the root.
Yeah. I have I have gone down the do less sort of thought process pathway, but like I said, like I don't know what to do. So then to me the do not less appears like nothing, and it takes me back into that loop of like, well, if you're doing nothing, how is anything gonna change?
Yeah,
So
because it
yeah.
becomes the man with the hammer problem. That's worked for you so often in your life, and it's a good quality to have in general. But in
Hmm.
its distortion, it becomes the hammer through which you try to solve all problems. Like then everything becomes a nail, right? So
Yeah.
that's where it's like it's gotten you to here, but it's not going to be the thing that takes you to the next level.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Perfect. So if you take that quality, how does that translate into problems in your business?
Well, that would explain the lack of satisfaction and burnout that I have experienced. And we've been in physical practice for 6 years. We've been in the online space for about the last three. Um, and within both spaces, kind of similar. I the same uh, type of problem. More, I would say, leaning towards the online space, um, because we did figure out ways to grow, but there's still this sort of stagnant feeling in our in-person practice.
So do you think being in a state of burnout or flirting with burnout and having a general lack of satisfaction in what you're doing, is that a good state to be in and come up with these tactical strategic solutions that will actually give you the business results?
Oh, definitely not. I love that you said flirting with burnout. I'm definitely going to use that.
Yeah. I know it really well because I've been there many a times, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you know my history, but I owned a brick and mortar weight loss center for 10 years. So I know the
Okay.
space of having your own whatever studio or
Hmm.
practice really well. And yeah, burnout and lack of satisfaction is by far the worst state to be in, to look at, okay, what is it that is actually the quickest path to the thing that's going to give me the next level of growth and stability. So yeah, I get that quite a bit. And just to then wrap this to something you said at the beginning. So you mentioned, okay, my authentic self and bringing that to camera. So, we've kind of gone down that rabbit hole. You also mentioned leadership, right? So presenting and directing in a more masculine way. So tell me a little bit more about what you meant there.
I think that it kind of stems from that like feminine softness, people pleasing, not being so bossy, direct is maybe overshadowing some of my work, like just authentic work. Like, you need to do this to get here. That's it. There's not really a conversation. There's no other way. There's not another way or easier way. So I think when I said that, that's what I meant. I sometimes I don't think I'm coming across directly enough.
Got it. And this, just so that I'm clear, is in your client work, like you're kind of beating around the bush as to what needs to actually happen for this change to occur. The delivery is maybe softer than necessary so that compliance of the actual protocol goes down as a result of that.
Not at all in person. I would say in more of a sales capacity,
Ah,
in
okay.
say like the online space, because it's like, well, I know I can help you. I know this is the solution. I know this, but now that I'm saying this to you, I've never said that to a person on, on a call. So I think that's more what I'm referring to, because in person there's this different feel. People are coming to you, um, you know, that first time they know they're coming to you, they're paying for it. You assume they're going to jump into what you've said to do, and they pretty much do. I have like wonderful success and wonderful relationships with all my in person people, and I have a lot of satisfaction from that. It's super fun. It's more, I would say, the online space more related to that sale of convincing, having that person see the value, understand, like, this is gonna fix it, this is gonna help you.
Got it. So basically, in the in person, you have permission to be direct because the person has already paid you. But when it comes to you having to be direct to open the door for that person to say yes to themselves, then this sort of people pleasing, other
I think
limiting
that takes
beliefs
over.
come
Yeah.
into play. Yeah. So if you look at that particular limiting pattern beyond yourself, how is it actually impacting the people that you could potentially help?
um well, they're not. They are, to this day, to this minute, still experiencing what they say they don't want to be experiencing because, they haven't participated in the solution.
Correct. So not only are you denying yourself the, income and growth from this individual, but you're actually denying them the elimination of their pain because there's a limiting belief or limiting part of you that's too scared to take ownership of what you can actually do in this capacity. I know you know it in the fulfillment bit, but it's in
Mm-hmm.
the ownership of no, like, I understand, I see you, I hear you, and I can make this better.
Yeah.
So what lands for you there?
The last thing you just said, actually, you said fear of ownership
Yeah.
over the resolution, or something like that. That really lands because that, yeah, exactly. I'm not directly saying, yeah, this is your solution.
So why do you think that is?
Um, I don't know which, but for sure my own limiting belief of that, like, jumping over that directness, that people pleasing. Like, I'm not sure which one it is.
Okay, that's fair. So great awareness. So okay, if we take that a bit further, if I do take ownership for the solution I provide, then fill in the blank.
So I'm led to want to say, like, what if they don't get better? But then your next question might be, well, has that ever happened? And my answer is like, no. I
Okay.
When I work with people, they do get better. What I do is really awesome. It really, really works.
So if you
So,
rewind that, and I'm not cutting
mhm,
you off just because like I don't think what you're saying is relevant. It's just when I see
mhm,
the like yellow or red flag, like I just want to point it out in the moment.
yeah,
It really goes back to from the outside looking in, being wrong or right. If I take ownership and
yeah,
I tell this person I can help you get this result, what if I'm wrong? Even though I have evidence, what if I'm wrong? But if the person comes to me, well, I have like they've already decided that they want this, so it's right for me to offer it to them. There's less risk. So does that resonate with you?
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So there's a lot of like it's like the through line through all of your patterns, whether they're showing up authentically, whether they're leadership, whether they're ownership of the value that I provide, whether it's people pleasing, whether it's your tendencies around things having to be hard or easy, like it's all rooted in this strong need to be validated that what you're doing is right or wrong. Internally, there's a lot of like prejudgment on a lot of your decisions and lenses through which you view decisions.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I never
what's
realized
landing there?
that. Again, all of it that is super enlightening. Just the connection between all the limiting beliefs that you just said, and the prejudgment kind of that I'm essentially doing before I do anything, in that fear of being right or wrong, which probably is from kind of that perfectionist piece of having to do it perfectly and all of that.
100%. That would be a ripple pattern of whatever all of the core beliefs are. And like we're scratching the surface of them. I'm sure that there's more, but yeah, perfectionism
Mm-hmm.
is definitely going to fall into this, bag of things. But it's like, yeah, it is so many of your limiting patterns that are right now impacting the bottom line are rooted in and around those or like ripple effects of those. So who would you be without this limiting pattern?
Probably a pretty happy person.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Um, like without the prejudgment and all of that, I'd probably feel pretty free, um, and more with more ability to be authentic if you remove that kind of questioning prejudgment line all the time, more satisfied. Um, is it also, does that come from like a negativity type of looping or pattern of, in preparation for the bad thing?
So I would
Is,
say that's probably another consequence of it. Because think about it,
okay.
if your core wounding is around I have to be right in order to like feel safe in some way, then of course you're always going to prioritize what could go wrong so that I
Mm-hmm.
can ensure I, manipulate my environment and circumstance as much as possible to ensure everything's right so that I can never risk being wrong.
Being
Right.
wrong.
Which is actually very interesting because you started the whole conversation with the breakdown of the circumstances around your situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff around, regulations, all of the stuff around like things that I've tried. Should I do this strategy? It's like all circumstantial, which is relevant. Don't get me wrong, they're important, but they can only be, again, it's like you looking at the symptoms of the individual, knowing that the root is hormonal. So, like, yeah, you can take Advil, but at the end of the day, it's not going to solve the root issue. So, it's like
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a headache or it's inflammation in a joint, or like it's like it's just showing up in different ways, but the root is what's causing it. So, that question of am I prejudging and looking for the negative, like having a negativity bias, it's again going back to this root of ensuring that everything's right.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. So just to bring it back then to who you would be without these limits, right? I'd be a much happier person. I'd feel a lot freer. I have more ability to be authentic. I'd be more satisfied. Essentially, it's like I'd be more fulfilled and I'd be able to create from that sense of fulfillment. So, what would you create from that space?
Um, I think it would be, I would just be able to reach a lot more people and help a lot more people because we started our online program after having been in business for 4 or 5 years with nearly every woman coming in with almost the same type of story and having the same type of conversations, educating the same way. Yes, treatment becomes a little more personalized here, specific there, of course, but we have the same digestive systems, we have the same physiology and endocrine systems. So it should be able to help a lot more people a lot more quickly. Um, and I think that would be amazing to really change it. My whole, what I see like biggest picture is changing the education system, changing the healthcare system so that young girls are taught what their period is and why we get it, and what our body is actually doing, because boys and girls don't know that. Schools separate them and you know periods are dirty, boys shouldn't know, like it just makes no sense to me. And then you have these women growing up who are like, oh, I had no idea I didn't, didn't have to be in pain. Or I just, everyone I saw, everyone I know is experiencing this. So I want to change all that. I want everyone to have this information because it's not fair that you have to go to a billion years of school like I did to know simple things about your own body. We should be teaching this to people. General public should know what healthy food is and how their body is meant to work. And so I would like that information to be very widespread. And in what format, I don't really know. But I would like to write a book. I would like to, grow this online program so that it's a huge community of women who can then teach their daughters. Because, yeah, I got to start with adults now, but these women in their cycling years might have daughters and sons who then they could teach. And then their daughter doesn't have to deal with what they just dealt with. And, down the line, should only take a couple generations.
That's a very beautiful, beautiful vision. And then to bring it back to you, is that vision more realistic if you're showing up authentically and without these limits than with them?
Well, yeah, I would assume it's going to be a lot easier if I'm speaking like this because I'm being like, normal, vulnerable, open with you, of course. So I need to translate that into these other conversations.
100%. And in addition to that, the business problems that this is creating for you, do you see how it actually goes beyond just like what you can create for yourself business wise, but it's really about the impact that you're denying a lot of people if these patterns still continue?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, yeah, it's not being seen, it's not out there because of this.
Yeah, got it. So yeah, I just want to be conscious of time. But A, I just want to thank you for allowing yourself to be witnessed and stepping into a space where you can authentically share the message, because it is such a beautiful message to actually share. It's an important one to share. So if you can just close us off and let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you, floor is yours for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Um, so for our online program, we have a website called symptomfreeperiods.com. On TikTok, I am at the period doctor. And if you want to email me, it's dranniesavage@gmail.com, just DR and then my name, Annie Savage. And really, I work with any women of any age, and then men as well have hormones and digestive systems. So absolutely reach out if you need help in either of those spaces, either gender, no matter what age.
Love it. Well, thank you very much for coming on and sharing all this with us. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.